no part of negotiation induces more anxiety and unfocused aggression than bargaining. It's funny because when I was on my honeymoon with my wife, she's the top bargain. She definitely, she's got and when you're talking about bargaining, we're talking about financials, money. People. If someone sets a price for something, someone has a price they want to buy it for. There's a tension there, and we want to kind of reduce that tension as much as possible. But he mentions about bargaining hard. But I think he says there's 3 different types of negotiators. You've got the analyst, which is methodical, and diligent. They take their time to work out the result. They'll take as much time as it takes to get it right. Accommodator, it's important to them to build relationships and spend time building rapport via communication. The goal is to be on good terms with their counterpart. And then you've got assertive, believes that time is money. Every wasted minute is a wasted dollar. And the self-image is linked to how many things they can accomplish in a period of time. So I think some people I think that's a spectrum personally. I think at certain times in a negotiation, you might be a different person or a different...
I think he even says in the book, like, you're not just one thing. Like, you might be a little bit of everything, or depending on who you're negotiating with or talking with, you might be more one than the other.
And I think it requires, and I think in one negotiation, you might be a different person at different times. You kind of you kind of switch in between. I think we'd all like to think we're maybe the accommodator, but as well, because, I've got some friends that work in, like, they deal with big sales and they're more analyst style because these sales, they take a long time. You might meet the person, go out for lunch, do a presentation, go out for lunch again, X, Y, Z. So that's where time is, you have the time, the luxury of time. But then in other type of sales jobs, you need to hit target today. You need to make a sale today. So you don't necessarily, if someone's trying to buy a car, you might not necessarily have the time to take them out on lunch and X, Y, Z. So it depends on the type of negotiation. But yeah, I mean, what did you think about bargaining?
In the bargaining stage, what did you think, about the odd numbers when it comes to negotiating?
The Ackerman bargaining, So I'll go over about. So what I think, to answer your question, I think it's really good. And I've actually used that in the past. Just to really, again, I always say this, read the book if you want to know specifically. I'll give you some headlines. But he calls it the Ackerman bargaining skill, and it's a psychological. So what you do is you set your price, and then you set your target price, which is 65% of that price. So if you want to buy something for £100, you're going to go with your first offer at £65 if it's cost at £100. But what you would do is, there's a few other steps, but I'm not going to go through all of those steps. So what you would do is, instead of going in at £65, you would say, I can pay you £64 and 32 pence. So what that says to the other person is, oh, they've really done their calculations. They really must have really worked hard about, they know exactly to the pence how much they can spend. And yeah, I've used that in the past. When we spoke about this book in the past, I kind of hadn't, but I remember we spoke about it, and since then, and I think it works quite well. And majority of times, in my experience, people have just rounded up. Said, oh, well, we'll do it for this, or round it down. It's kind of worked in my favour. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think he does it in stages. So you start at 65, then you might go to 75, then you might go to £81 and 47p. But I think, I could be wrong, but I think there's some power in the odd number as opposed to even number. I could be wrong.
Possibly.
But yeah, anyway, getting that specific number, like you said, it really shows that you've worked it out.
Yeah.
The other thing that he said is zone of possible agreement, the ZOPA,
remind me on this one.
Which is essentially, say I'm selling you a car, the minimum I'm going to accept for that car is 5,000. Yeah. The maximum you're going to pay for the car is 6,000.
Yep.
So between £5 and £6 is the zone of possible agreement. But you're coming in cheap. You're saying, Tyler, I'm going to give you 4,000, and I'm saying I want 7,000. But the ZOPA, or the zone of possible agreement, is the 5,000 to 6,000. So some negotiations have that, some don't have that. But I guess what he kind of articulates, you've kind of got to try and find that zone and be willing to walk away if you're not in that zone. It's
all about communication. At the end of the day, do you know what I mean? You'll get there, you'll find it, because there's going to get to a point in the negotiation where it's like, okay, what's your best price? What's the final, what are you willing to accept, and what am I willing to pay? And then we'll find it. And to be fair, going back to the empathy side of things, if you understand why I can't pay any more than I've said, you might just feel empathetic and say, you know what, that's the most he can afford, or vice versa. Yeah. So it kind of boils down to that.